Hi, and welcome to Sailor Moon Therapy Hour.
We are not therapists. We just watch anime.
I am Audrey,
And I'm Allison.
and we have that down.
Oh yeah, we're getting so good at this. We're
Yeah.
basically professionals, and we will bring
Uh-huh.
you all of your Sailor Moon therapy needs. Every week we
asterisk.
watch... No
Not
asterisk.
therapy.
I already astraced. No more
Asterisk?
astracees are ever needed again. Just stars everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so every week we watch Sailor Moon together for the fun nostalgia and all of the wonderful therapy it brings us. And we take turns. We watch the very old dub from our childhood, which is phenomenal, of course, as we all remember. And we watch
And we'll
the,
hear no hatred against it.
more recent subtitled version. So hopefully a little closer to the original intent.
Yes. Do we know for sure if the sub we've been watching is a new sub?
I have no idea. I have been watching the one off of the streaming platform that I'm not going to name because
Same.
I don't like them and they're not paying us.
Exactly.
If they paid us, I might be willing to pretend to like them. Probably not.
Yeah, I guess I don't like any of the streaming platforms, but I do pay for several of them.
Well, all right, let's not have an aside about this streaming platform.
Sorry.
And my many, many issues with it and how it is personally out to get me in my life. Do you want to have therapy about streaming platforms today?
Maybe we should at the end. I do want to give a heads up. My ADHD is real bad today.
Wonderful.
It's been really, really bad this whole week.
Oh, I'm sorry
So.
for that. I was sick this week, but I am doing good today. I was really cranky last week, so it's good we didn't talk about it because I'm just cranky about this episode in general. General perception of this episode was it's really mean.
Really?
And I don't know if it is as mean as it came across, because I do know that the dub always is meaner than the sub, and I think this is a little bit mean to start with, and now it's very, very mean in the dub.
Yeah, it definitely, and so I've only, so heads up, I watched it last week, and then we canceled last week, so I'm going off of watching half of the episode right before this. Rewatching, yeah. And so what I recall is that it did feel a little mean, like I was kind of annoyed at Ray a little bit, but it wasn't unwatchable. Like it wasn't awful.
Was unwatchably bad, which I say as someone who has now watched it twice, which is very unfair. Because I also rewatched it this week. But my brothers who watch with me every week were like, no. So, yeah. I'm really curious to see if there are any differences. Some of this, I think, is just built into the nature of the episode, but
Yeah.
as we said, they do like to hit meaner with some of their jokes in the dub. So
Yeah, I don't know what it was about the 90s and American cartoons, but they were super bitchy. So this episode in the sub was called Usagi versus Ray, Nightmare in Dreamland.
So it's girl power, and in by girl power I mean they're fighting with each other like girls do in the 90s.
Bitchy.
Yeah. And my version was just called Nightmare in Dreamland, so they didn't get super creative.
Yeah, not too far off though.
And I believe, do I do the summary, I think, since I watched the dub?
Yeah, because you did the dub. So that's... So if you're just joining us, originally we had started just kind of tag teaming, and then the last couple episodes we've been doing, whoever watches the dub will summarize, because it often doesn't make sense.
This is very true.
Yeah.
And, the last time, this episode is sort of fairy tale themed because in this case, the bad guys' plan is they're taking over a theme park, but it's actually a trap. They're trying to lure the Sailor Scouts in to catch them. And so it's a magical theme park, and there's the monster is a puppet this time for some reason instead of an actual monster, which, I really liked, but also I was like, what? And they did not explain that. And I don't even think I can really summarize the theme because, the last time we watched a fairy tale episode and it was the one where they were doing the weird talent show and it was Cinderella themed, but they cut out all the Cinderella theming?
Yeah.
This one felt like it should have a theme, but I don't know what it was.
It wasn't, because I didn't really notice a theme this time around, but there were
This had very much filler episode vibes. And it's definitely, a lot of these episodes are very much not in the, manga originally, so they are made up for the show, but this one in particular felt filler episode-y.
Yeah, this one in the sub was more like really solidifying the 3 Sailor Senshis together.
You're right.
Like
I think that's probably what we should have been saying, except for, God, their dynamic was... Okay, so let me actually try to
let's get into it. Yeah.
I will say that, like, the bad guy had elements of Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, but it wasn't really coherent, and I'm not sure they were trying to do anything coherent, but I just wondered if you were going to tell,
Snow White makes sense. Yeah.
So, in this episode, we finally see all 3 girls hanging out, and Serena and Ray are going to be fighting for the entire episode as if they absolutely hate each other, which is, like, a completely different vibe from the way they interacted last episode, where they seemed to kind of, like each other, and Serena seemed to think Ray was pretty cool, and Ray was kind of chill. Yeah. No, they're just completely fighting the entire episode. And then they're also kind of bitching at Amy, and Amy's kind of bitching back at them, and, like, everyone's bitching at everybody. Like, everybody was so... Wow. I don't think one character didn't get a dig in at another character in this episode.
I'm going to have to watch this dub later today.
So I guess my theme is they're fighting. They decide to go to this theme park, maybe just to go, but then also because there's some news that people have been disappearing and they think there might be Negaverse activity there. At the theme park, Ray gets bad vibes about the princess theme park character and her robot animals, which was also never explained. And they
it wasn't explained in the sub either.
They run into Darien and fight with him. Ami gets put to sleep with all the other park people by the evil robot princess, and then Serena and Ray fight some more with each other, and then they go in and they get caught up in a weird dream world visions by the evil lady. Tuxedo Mask breaks them free, and then they wake up Ami and they all beat the bad guy, and then they go back to fighting. And that was the episode.
Yeah. I will say first, so there is fighting in the sub, but it's more like a sibling kind of rivalry in a way, where it's just like Usagi's way of doing things just inherently clashes with Ray's way of doing things, and they're still so new with each other that, like, Usagi's used to doing things her way, Ray's used to doing things her way, and they don't really trust each other's instincts yet. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's more like sass and like a little bit of meanness. I could see this being cuter because one of the running things has been, like, Usagi, Serena always fights with Darien, and it's always way cuter in the sub than it is in the dub. In the dub, it always feels meaner. And again, here, when they fought, they had a little fight, and it was like, I bet this was cute in the sub, and they didn't just seem like they were being very mean to each other. And I suspect the same thing with Ray, because she was fighting kind of a similar way to the way Serena fights with Darien, which now I have a whole tangent about shipping Serena and Ray, because clearly she has the exact same chemistry. Yes.
But
well, and Ray's entrance, Serena was like, oh,
exactly,
like she blushed and everything.
I think that's my head.
Maybe that's why they're clashing.
Yeah,
they're attracted to each other.
Exactly, it's the same vibe. But again, it was so mean in the dub that it was just, like, not charming. But I think it was meant to be charming.
Yeah, it got a little annoying, I will say, in the sub. Like, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of remember why Ray really pissed me off as a kid.
Yeah. Well, and then some other things is the dub is always meaner about, like, Serena just being selfish and lazy and a coward, and the dub seems to really buy into that a lot more. The sub definitely doesn't think that.
No. No.
So again, when they rag her about this in the dub, partly it feels meaner because the show itself definitely thinks that.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, because in the sub, it's just like, these are all the reasons why she's lovable, and in the dub, it's like, this is why she's
this is all the stuff she needs to outgrow.
Yeah.
And get past to be her better self.
Those messages are wildly different.
Yeah, and they really, really are. And I think, again, we've talked about why it also means it's why I like Serena better on the rewatch, and in particular in the dub, because you realize that, we're grown up basically watching the show where they were telling us, like, all of these things were huge flaws in her, that were really annoying to everyone around her.
I wonder if there's something to be, and this is really leaning into the therapy hour, but I wonder if there's something to that about how we were getting these messages in this narrative growing up about like, all right, like this laziness, quote unquote, you know, she probably just has ADHD, but like all of the things, like she's emotional, she leads with her heart, all the stuff that they shit on her for in the dub, which is the one that we watched. And then now we realized, because we did even mention it in earlier episodes, we realized that we relate to her a lot more now. Like, I definitely have a lot of the same traits as she does. And I wonder if that's why I hate those in myself still. Like, I'm still having to work through, like, this self-hatred.
And not just because we were taught it, but also it's part of why we were so, like, unwilling to, like, relate to her. Because you're, like, you really didn't want to. You were relate to that.
You didn't want to look at it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you're always harsher on flaws that you see in yourself, and then growing up thinking of them a little less as flaws, and also just being more sympathetic to them. So one final just pre-complaint before we start going through is just that, of course, we talked the last time about how the anime added a whole subplot where Ray and Serena fight over Darien, because Ray also has a crush on Darien. And that
was added?
Well, they added it. It's not in the manga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we get to see the beginning of that again, where they're just fighting over everything, including Darien, and they're just, whoo. And I'm like, okay, that was why I found Ray off-putting, because she's just kind of weirdly, aggressively mean.
Yeah.
So we started out with them all hanging out in the bedroom together, which I think is meant to be, you know, cute domestic scene. They're all getting, you know, we get to start seeing how they relate. But Serena and Ray are arguing over a book. Serena wants to take it home. Ray hasn't gotten to read it yet. Ami and Luna are like, oh my god, they're arguing again. And Ami's like, stop. And Luna finally just yells at them to stop. I will say they gave Ami a line that said, why she could go to the theme park, because she said, I'm 10 chapters ahead on my homework. And they're continuing to just make Ami just...
so just stick in the mud. Question, did they say what the book title was that Sailor Moon wanted to borrow?
They did, and it was something kind of fun, and it might have been theme park related. It sounded like Ray and Serena actually did have similar tastes in literature, which I thought was cute.
Yeah, it was actually the new Sailor V manga.
That's it. It was Sailor V goes to Paris or something weird like that. That wasn't it. Sailor V
weird.
Doing something. I can't remember.
Yeah, they didn't really give it a title in the sub. It was just like, this is the new Sailor V manga. So Ray had clearly just bought it and hadn't read it yet. And Serena already wants to go home.
Yeah, there's that cute thing where they have some, and you know, we see Ami reading a thicker book. Like we see, you know, like in this way, Ray and Serena are more alike, and that's cute. Yeah. But then they're also like bickering. But yeah, they're like, what should we do? And Serena's like, let's go to Dreamland. It's been on TV. It looks really cool. And Ami's like, yeah, and but they've been having trouble. Apparently, people might be disappearing. Maybe it's the Negaverse. So they all go to Dreamland. Ami's voice acting is so perpetually bad. And there were a couple really weird line deliveries.
It's bonkers. Wait, can you recreate any of them? Or like one?
There's one that'll come up later, and I'll try to recreate it. Because I honestly, if you can find it, I want you to like, I don't know how hard it is, but if you can pull it out and put it in the episode, it's real good. Yeah. So it'll come up later, but it was just a bizarre line delivery. And
all of hers are.
Yes. So they go to the Negaverse, but we have a Jadeite barrel scene where they, you know, set up like, Jadeite's like, I'm gonna use this amusement park to lure them in and trap them. So this time it's explicitly a trap for the Sailor Senshi. They're not even really trying to get energy. That's sort of a byproduct.
That's not quite what it was. That was kind of like a bonus. Like it was like they're still trying to get energy, and Queen Beryl like threatens Jadeite because she's like, don't forget you're expendable. And
she did in this one too.
Yeah.
And he looked very nervous. This is one of the first times we really started to see. I think he's going to die off soon. So, he's on
I think it's coming. He's feeling it now. This is the first time that, like, we've definitely seen, like, oh, my days are numbered with him. But it felt more like in the sub that it was a simultaneous mission. Like,
Yeah.
we need to get a bunch of energy because I've been fucking up this whole time.
And I'm actually
and
not
we need to crack
surprised
them.
because I feel like the sub has been more consistent about what they're trying to do and that they're not
Yeah.
like as focused on the Senshi. Like the dub keeps adding all this like, oh. So yeah, I actually did wonder if that was changed. So it is. Also, I will say that just as my one note was that Queen Beryl was still, of course, she cannot stop touching her crystal ball. That's her whole life.
Because we're just reusing
But
that
she
animation.
She was looking at images of the 3 sailor Senshi and being like, there's 3 of them now to fight. But she was using her crystal ball to project these images onto a wall, which is like not what crystal balls do.
No, and it's not what happened.
I kind of thought that was added too.
Yeah.
But I was just like, that's not how crystal balls work. You have one character trait, and it's a crystal ball, and we've never seen her do something with a crystal ball that wasn't extremely weird. Do you remember when she pulled like a cassette tape out of a crystal? Oh, she played a cassette tape with a crystal ball.
In it. Yeah. And that was the one that was a sub because they didn't even translate it.
It's very strange.
Oh, Queen Beryl. Yeah,
So-
like the one thing I'll say about the dub, Big Deke, is they're not very consistent on the magical power system.
Yeah. Or what the bad guys are trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
For
Or
all
what
that
the
they keep
Senshi are trying to
introducing
accomplish.
stuff early, they're just like very uneven with how much knowledge which characters have and whose motivations
Yeah.
are what.
Almost like they don't care.
What? So then we cut to the theme park, and there's a bunch of reporters that are trying to be like, is it true that people have been disappearing? And evil Jadeite's there being like, no one's disappearing, but like in a really suspicious way, which if his plan is to lure the Sentian makes sense, but otherwise it's just really funny. The other very funny thing about that scene was that we have a group of reporters go, I heard that 15 people have disappeared from this park, but we're not sure if it's true. And I'm like, how are you not sure if it's true?
It's 50. Also.
50.
So like, yeah, so in the beginning of the sub, I forgot to mention this when we were at that point, but like, they're not trying to decide what to go do. Like, Ami shows in the newspaper, like, that's how it starts. She's like, 50 people have gone missing from this theme park. I think that there's something going on.
That makes
it's
way
like a
more
meeting.
sense than starting with, let's go to the theme park, and Ami going, yeah, that sounds fun. Also, I heard people are disappearing. Isn't that sad? Maybe it's the negative. That was a weird transition.
Yeah, that's very bizarre. So it was more like an official Sailor Guardian meeting, and I was like, holy shit, 50 people have disappeared, and they're just now
And the news is apparently not clear if 50 people have disappeared. And I'm like, you either know they disappeared or they didn't. And why is the theme park here open? As evil Jadeite
why is it
in
still
disguise
open?
says,
That's
evil
a lot
Jadeite's
of
like,
people.
evil Jadeite goes, obviously that's a lie. We wouldn't still be open if 50 people disappeared. And I'm like, I mean, he's got a point. And then he single-handedly shoves the entire crowd of reporters out the door, which was amazing and a power move.
Yes. I would love to.
And they're like, I'm going to report you, which I think was intended to be a joke, but it didn't really come off like one.
Wait, somebody said that?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't think that was
the
in
dub
the sub.
thought that was a joke, but they didn't deliver it very coherently. Yeah, but I that makes so much more sense. Plus, if they literally started out as, here's a concerning thing, let's go check it out, versus, what do we do? Let's do a fun thing. Oh, also it might be concerning. Because they're going to spend the rest of the episode being like, Serena, quit messing around. And it makes more sense if they started out not messing around rather than they started out messing around. Because they were like, it was just like not clear that they actually were there to work. So it was really weird how angry they kept getting at Serena.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would change that, because
I honestly think it's just bad translating.
Yeah. Or like, maybe I could maybe see if like they thought it was bad that she was messing around during a job and so wanted to give her a reason.
No,
like
they were not trying to be
reasonable
nicer to her. They were trying to be meaner. Because the whole episode, they're like, look how childish, like, Serena's immediately like, I want to go to the theme park. I want to ride the rides. So she literally starts out that she's not interested in, like, the concerning things happening. She just wants to be childish. Actually, so many people were acting kind of weird and childish, and they were hitting so hard on Serena being childish that I thought they were going to have some sort of theme. I actually thought they were all going to get turned into children, like, at the theme park. Because
that would have been great.
It would have been very cool. I mean, this is the second time I've been like, I really want Tuxedo Mask to get turned into a child, but I guess this is just something I want from life.
Yeah, I think we need it.
So I thought they were going there. Like, at one point when they were bickering, I was like, oh, the theme park is regressing them into children. And then it was like, no.
No, nothing that complex. Just bad translation.
So they go to the park, and Luna's like, maybe we should split up. I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea, Luna.
Mm-hmm. And also, she's a bad leader, because why would you put Ray with Serena?
Exactly. I'm like, you literally just said they cannot stop fighting, and then you're like,
yeah,
let's send them off together. This will be great. Also, she's like, where'd Serena go? Serena's on the merry-go-round, and everyone's like, what? She's riding the merry-go-round. And I was like, this is where I didn't quite realize they were there to work, and I was like, can you guys chill?
Right.
But they do split up. No, they haven't split up yet. They split up later. They just cut to everyone being mad at Serena. They're all sitting on a bench, and they're like, Serena, you gotta stop goofing around. And I was like, how did they just all get more annoying? Like, they were...
Yeah, and I don't think they were talking about that either. I feel like what I remember happening... Again, the ADHD is strong today. But, like, I remember them talking about what their plan is and kind of, like, where they should look around. Like, how weird it is that none of the people... Because Jedi had mentioned that, like, none of the people had disappeared on the grounds of the amusement park. So they're trying to figure out, like, where they would have disappeared.
You mean, like, they were talking about plot-related stuff instead of just bitching at each other constantly? Literally, they didn't ever talk about any... They just bitched at each other constantly.
Oh, yeah, this is, like, a whole thing. Yeah.
So they're sitting on the bench, and, like, they're criticizing Serena for riding the merry-go-round, and, like, Ray's like, you're the laziest person ever, and, like, I don't know if she shoves her or whatever, but Serena winds up on the ground yelling at Ray, and I thought she was going to have bumped into Darian, because that's usually what it is, but instead she bumped into a lion, which was the lion was a surprise. And they all freak out.
The lion was a surprise.
I was like, oh, it's another one of those, the lion was, but it was a robot lion, which... honestly made it more surprising, but...
That was so weird, because I will say, even in the sub, because Ray... So this is our introduction to, like, the mechanical monster lady.
So
real adorable.
Basically the Disney character princess, you know, kind of the park theme figure, is this princess, sort of a Snow White type, and she shows up, and she's got all these robot animals that just look like regular animals, but she's like, I control them with my magic apple, which is why I said she's sort of
it is kind of like a Snow White,
because it's like a poison
and
apple.
They fall asleep later, so...
Yeah, so I was like, poison apple kind of vibe here. But yeah, she's like, I controlled my remote control apple or whatever, and the robots were a vibe.
They were, I was like, okay, first of all, we had a whole episode earlier about computers and floppy disks and how nobody knows how to use computers. And then we come here and we've got, like, fully sentient AI animal perfect robot.
And you know, it's not that I don't think the bad guys could do that with magic. I totally think the bad guys
right,
could do
obviously
that with magic, but everyone else is like, oh yes, of course, they're robot animals that look
like nobody's surprised.
Let me ride this bear.
Like, they could have written in, and I think this is the fault of the sub as well, like, they totally could have made this, like, the reason why everybody's still at this amusement park, even though there's so very many people missing. Like, that's a huge attraction. But also, okay, so at this point, when Ray gets bad vibes...
Oh, yeah,
I never understood why she kept saying, don't get on the animal, don't touch them.
It gets really strange, because, I think specifically when the princess uses her, like, magic apple, Ray starts immediately getting really bad vibes, and she's like... Mm-hmm. And at this scene, it actually worked all right, because she just sort of was like, Serena, we gotta go. And Serena's like, what? And she's like, no, I'm getting really bad vibes. And she drags her off. And I was like, okay, that was kind of cute, because, like, Serena's like, okay. I have in my notes that the lion said hi, but I'm not sure that actually happened. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I don't remember if that happened or not either.
I have, quote, hi, ? Talks. I was like, what? So I'm confused by my own notes. So Ray drags Serena away. She's like, why are you so stubborn? But they didn't manage to get away, because then this is where we get our weird, there's a few bits of weird dialogue. The princess goes, would anyone like candies and cookies as much as you want? And
oh yeah, that does happen. There's like tons of food.
Ami goes, sure, why do you ask? Which, first of all, was a really weird delivery, and second of all, like, Ami already knows that they think this person is suspicious and people are disappearing, so it was really weird for Ami to be the one that's like, yeah, I want candy and cookies.
Yeah.
Serena also went, yeah, but Ami, like, chimed in too, and it was very strange.
I'm trying to remember what she would have said during that time, because obviously she goes later by herself to check it out, which is much more Ami-like.
Yeah.
To, like, see what's going on.
In this one, she was definitely not trying to check it out. She just wanted some candy and cookies, and I guess I don't know what was happening. It was really weird.
Big Deke really just, like, stripping young girls of their agency.
It was really weird. And it was really strange too, because I was like, when Serena was like, yeah, I want it, I was like, oh, because they're doing this, Serena, and then the Ami does it too, and I'm like, but they don't get mad at Ami for doing it, and I was just really confused.
That's weird. Almost like that wasn't what she said.
It was really weird. And then Jadeite's got, like, his tower with all his unconscious people. I guess it's the 50 missing people or whatever, and he's thinking about how he's going to get them this time. And they pair off, and of course, Luna sends Serena and Ray off together because that's a beautiful idea.
Great.
And it is kind of funny because Serena's like, can we go do something? And Ray's like, no, we have to do surveillance. And Ray's just, like, following the princess around and staring at her, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, the princess takes a little kid and lets him ride the little robot bear, and Ray just throws a fit. Ray is like, no, he cannot be on that bear. And the princess is like, okay, I guess you can ride it later, honey.
Weird.
And Ray pulls the princess off, and she's like, no, right, that's not, you can't put him on that bear. And the princess is like, it's not a real bear. And Serena's like, yeah, he totally can. So Serena and Ray start, like, dragging this child on and off the bear.
About this.
I don't know why Ray was so intent that this child not be on the bear. Like, that didn't fit with the suspicion. And then finally the kid's mom comes up and yells at both of them. And
did they show the clip of them, like, literally, like, each one has an arm and they're pulling it so tight as they're fighting back and forth?
They were fighting back and forth, but I don't feel like they got that intense.
Yeah,
because I think they just kept to the...
Because I remember when I saw that, I was like, well, I'll bet they took this out. Because there's, like, a whole freeze frame where they're, like the kid's in, like, pain, or, like, what's happening? And they're like, nah!
They were definitely tugging him back and forth, but I don't feel like it got that intense. And then his mom shows up and is like, stop touching my kid.
Yeah, I feel, first of all, I felt that was really weird, even in a sub. I was like,
that's
really
where I was like, oh, the park is making them, like, regress. Yeah. Because their behavior was so weird.
But I don't think it's that. I think narratively they're like, it's not about the vibes. It's not about the mission. It's about them clashing and trying to take ownership, because there isn't really a clear leader yet. So
that's true. And we are going to have sort of a plot point coming up with Sailor V, who was mentioned again at the beginning, where, is Sailor V the missing leader? She's the real leader. Right. Should Ray be the leader? So that would be a more thoughtful thing they're setting up here, is just them kind of trying to figure out who's running the show and how they fit together. Because, we cut straight from here to they're riding a little, like, toy train through the park. And, again,
I knew I didn't make that up in my head.
Sort of funny and cute, even though they were very mean to each other. But this was where I was like, oh, they're all behaving really childishly. They're regressing. I get it. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, no, that's apparently not the plot. But yeah, they're all on this little train. Ray and Serena are arguing with each other, and
doing surveillance.
And the train breaks abruptly. There's like a mechanical panda bear, a talking panda bear driving the train. Train breaks abruptly, and of course, this time when Serena face plants into something, it's not a lion. It is Darian, who is also on the train with his little knees up around his ears.
I died that reveal.
And the part a little later where he starts blushing because he's been caught, like, on the train, that was really cute. Because, like many other cases, why is he here? Obviously, he's also investigating his tuxedo mask, but he can't say that, so it's just really weird.
But it just, like... Because it already looks ridiculous for Serena and Ray to be on. It's like a kid's, like, those tiny little
There are not any other adults on this.
Yes. And it's cute and funny already. And then with the reveal that, like, it just pulls out in giant Darian.
And I think this was Serena's idea. Actually, this is kind of cute because Ray's like, why are we here? And Serena's like, this is the best way to surveil the park or whatever, which honestly is kind of clever.
She's not wrong.
And let's point out that Darian had the exact same idea. Yeah. And I love that for them. They're both like,
yes,
I'm going to ride the train. I'm going to ride the children's train.
Both Darian and Ray need Serena in their lives. Like, they need this childlike love and sense of adventure and joy.
But Darian is willing to think of riding a train all by himself. So in that, he's more like Serena than like Ray.
Although can you imagine like being a parent, like the parent of that kid, and just like not only have these two teenage girls like wrung the arms of your child for no reason and they're strangers. Now you see an adult man by himself like on this child's train just riding around
alone in the park. What are you doing here? So Serena immediately is like, aren't you a little old for this? And he's like, I could say the same thing for you, except for not, because this is exactly appropriate for you, meatball head. And then Ray's like, oh my God, Meatball Head. That is the perfect name for her. Ha 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 ha, Meatball Head.
She does say that in the dub.
Isn't it great? And then they both start making fun of Serena and she gets really mad at them. It was really mean-spirited. I didn't like it. And
frankly, I didn't really love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And she called him a name and he gets embarrassed. Didn't like it. Wasn't into that.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be a little more lighthearted.
I think it was. It was a little goofier. And it was a little more like, dang, like now my frenemy and my crush, or not crush, but like this guy I keep running into, they've got something in common. What
would you call it? Crush enemy? Crenemy? My frenemy? My two frenemies have met each other. Frenemies, they're both frenemies and crushes, and so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both crushes for sure.
I mean, I think
I'm gonna read into every Ray
literally
Serena
the fact
thing
that they both start calling her Meatball Head, like, to me, that's supposed to be like they both have the same dynamic with her, but it was just kind of mean. And so then the train is like, they hear the announcement that all the cookies or whatever that the princess wanted them to come for are starting. The candy and cookies are starting. And Serena's like, stop the train, I gotta go. And they're like, we can't stop yet. And she's like, but I'm gonna miss the candies and cookies. And so that's why Ami goes in without them, is because they couldn't get off the train in time.
Oh, I don't think that was true.
It was very strange, and I didn't think it made sense. Because if you run an evil park where you're trying to get people to your candies and cookies, you're gonna get the train. The train's gonna stop at the candies and cookies. So.
Yeah. And I don't think that this was, I think there was like a timely, like there was a meeting. I think that they were supposed to meet up with Ami at a specific time to go explore the castle thing. And so that's why, like, Ami's like waiting for them.
Candies and cookies as much as they want.
Yeah, I don't remember there being that. I mean, I remember there being food in the place, but yeah. Once again, sorry, I only got halfway through the rewatch. And I mean, we both know that, like, I'll watch it right before and still not remember critical details.
Oh, I missed two other things, which is that Ray suddenly goes to Serena, hey, doesn't that guy look just like Tuxedo Mask? And
she does say that, yeah.
Which is really cute. And Serena's like, no, he doesn't look anything like Tuxedo Mask. And it was like, I mean, like, that's a nice little lampshade.
I thought that was hilarious.
It was good. And, so they get there. Ami's already gone inside the castle without them. Or they're like, Luna, where's Ami? And they're like, she went in without you. And Serena's like, she didn't even wait for us? What a hog. And it was like, wow. That is wildly out of character.
Wow.
Yeah, she took a swing at poor Ami. Ami's a sweetheart. Serena would never do that.
No, she wouldn't. And she didn't.
So we cut inside the party where everyone's going, ooh, candy, cookies, this is great. And then the princess shows up and she's like, is everyone enjoying the party? Awesome. And then she blows red mist through her apple and puts everyone to sleep.
Yeah.
And Ami falls asleep too. Ami's like, oh no, Ray was correct, or something like that.
Yeah, I think Ami was like trying to get a read on the like technology being used or something like that. But yeah, she definitely falls asleep. Along with everybody. Which is why you never leave your buddy.
So outside, they realize something's wrong, and they're like, we gotta get in there. And the doors are locked, and Serena's like, no, my cookies! And they're like...
That's what they translated it to?
Yeah, and then Ray goes, but stop talking about cookies. Ami's in danger. And Serena's like, don't be so mean to me. And I was like, that is very out of character. That was completely not how Serena reacts when her friends are in danger.
Yeah, so she is crying at the door, and she's like, oh no, Ami. And she's worried about her. Oh no, I hope she's okay.
Serena is not still thinking about cookies. As soon as her friends are in danger, Serena is taking care of her friends. It was weird.
And Ray was more, like, she was getting annoyed at her. She was like, stop crying and let's, like, figure this out. Like, we need to get in.
See, that's such a
Which
better
makes way more
vibe
sense.
for them, where they're both worried about their friend and they're reacting to it in different ways, and they're not they're not used to the way the other person reacts. Versus, like, them just setting up, like, Serena is still weirdly obsessed with food and doesn't give a shit about her friend, and Ray has to call her out.
Yeah.
It was
because Serena's, like, trying to, like, open the door and, like, get in to get to Ami.
To get to the cookies.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, both of them are so, like, focused on,
the
like,
cookies
getting
that Ami
in.
is hogging.
Right, obviously. What a pig hog. And then Luna has to be like, oh my god, transform already. Like, just transform.
That was cute. And she's like...
Yeah.
And then she snaps at Luna because it was meaner in the dub, of course.
Of course.
But, so they both do their transformations. Something I found amusing was that, Ray just immediately blows the door open after she transforms. But I did like that she basically started her attack, like, almost before Serena's transformation scene had ended. Like, the music hadn't really even cut out before Ray's thing had... And I was like, that is a character note, is that Ray's just like, no time for this, blowing the door open.
Right. That makes sense. She is fire.
It was really good. They had kind of a weird screen wipe where I thought they might have cut something, but they just cut to... What did they cut to? Jadeite being like, soon all three will be mine. So I don't know why that was necessary. I guess they go in the door and they get the red apple breath blown on them, and Luna's like, be on guard, you're hallucinating. Which was it's just a weird thing to tell someone.
Yeah.
How does Luna know that anyway?
I don't know.
I mean, also, is Luna not hallucinating? Like, suddenly they're in a park, so, I mean, clearly, like, this is not what reality is, but it was just a weird thing for her to say.
Yeah, she probably didn't say that.
And then Mars tries to pick up, like, a wreath of flowers or something, and it turns into a snake and bites her. But I guess it's a real enough snake to be important, because she's like, oh no, her hand starts turning to stone.
Wait, that's how it was set up, that Ray tries to pick it up?
Yes.
Okay, so... she's saving Sailor Moon from it.
Oh, she might have been. There was something like, I made this for you, and I couldn't quite follow it. The cuts were weird, so I couldn't quite follow what was happening.
Yeah. So it's actually kind of a theme in this episode where, like, as soon as the monster is doing something polite to, like, introduces herself or is like, hey, I made this wreath for you, Sailor Moon is polite back. She's like, oh, thank you so much. And she tries to take it.
That's really cute because there is at least one more moment later on that they did manage to translate, and it was one of my favorite moments. And if that had been a more clear theme, absolutely would have been.
Yeah, it happens like a couple times where she's like, she's just so nice, and like genuinely nice, and like even when she's in Sailor Moon mode, she like can't get out of the politeness
to everyone. Okay, that's really cute. I love it. And
Sailor Mars saved her from it. She's like, no! And she, like, grabs it.
Okay, so the two things we get there is, one, just that thing of, like, even if it does get her in trouble sometimes, like, that's such a nicer take on Serena, that she's just really nice to people. Versus, like, she's obsessed with food and doesn't give a shit about her friends and can't concentrate.
Like, no.
Two, like... And I think it may have even happened in the dub, but I couldn't really parse it. But, like, a more dramatic of, like, Ray saving Serena is, like, cute when they've been bickering, but we see that they still really care about each other.
Exactly.
I do have written down in quotation marks, you're right, she's in on this, which I think I just wrote down because it was just a really dumb time for them to suddenly have that realization. I don't know who said that.
Like, they've known it the whole time, I feel.
I know! So I don't know who said that, but, yeah, that was a dumb thing to say.
Okay, so Ray starts turning into stone, right?
Yeah.
Because the snake... So the wreath that the monster tries to give Sailor Moon, that Sailor Mars intercepts, turns into a snake and bites her. And then the snake turns into stone. And then Sailor Mars, is going to slowly start turning into stone.
So she uses her magic, like, scroll thing to break it and free herself from the stone. Serena's really relieved. She might have been crying, I don't know, but Mars just started yelling at her again, so I don't remember why. I just wrote, Serena is relieved, Mars yells again. And I was like, that's the mood for the whole thing. Is like, it was just mean.
Yeah.
Okay, here was a cool bit. There were a few cool bits. And actually, one of my favorite things about this episode was just that the whole puppet thing, they didn't really explain it. It didn't thematically seem to tie into anything.
Well, she wasn't a puppet. She was a monster.
But it was a cool vibe, and I was into it. So at this part, she was a puppet. I looked this up online. She's a doll or something. She's a doll. Oh. She's a robot anyway. So at this point, she goes, the princess has to go away now. And her head retracts into her torso, and it starts spinning around and making mechanical music box noises. And then it, like, comes back out, and now she's got, like, a more, like, puppety jaw and face, like a robot or a puppet. And she starts talking in a mechanical voice, which apparently they did in the dub, but maybe wasn't in the sub. Because I did look her up to see where she was from. And she's got, like, a different color scheme. It's a little more, like, Evil Queen instead of... So I thought it was, like, the kind of Snow White Evil Queen thing.
Ooh. I think they probably were going for that.
This is my favorite scene in the whole bit, because so she comes out, she's clearly like this crazy evil looking doll, and she goes, Dream Dolly wants to play. And Serena goes, aw, she's cute. And Ray goes, she's evil.
That was good. But that
Ray has to pull her back because Serena's just immediately like, oh my god, that's adorable. And I was like, my heart.
That is really cute. In the sub, it was... she goes, my name is Murido, and Sailor Moon goes, oh, so nice to meet you.
Also really good. And Ray's just like, no, stop.
Yeah.
So it was I enjoyed that a lot. The aesthetic was good. They didn't really do anything with the aesthetic, but I did like it.
Yeah.
So the doll blows her dust again and sucks them into another dream illusion. And Luna's like, be careful, anything you see probably isn't real. And of course they immediately see Tuxedo Mask ride up on a horse, and they go charging after him because they're like, oh my god,
sorry, that was hilarious.
It was really good. Luna's like, he's not real. And they're like, he's on a horse. He looks like a prince. They both get huge heart eyes because remember that they're both supposed to have a crush on him in this version. Then they're on a carousel. They're all riding a carousel together. They're all on horses.
I knew I didn't make that up.
It was so good.
Because I was like, I feel like I remembered them all on a carousel together with heart eyes.
Luna's just like, oh my god, please, guys, please. Yeah. And then someone is like, oh, the evil dream dolly is like, I'm gonna use my apple curse on them. But then Tuxedo Mask's Rose comes through and cuts the apple or destroys it. I think just cuts it. And breaks the illusion. And he's like, you guys need to stop being sucked into dreams, and then runs away, because that's his vibe.
Classic Tuxedo Mask.
And the best part, though, as they come back to themselves, they're both holding brooms and, like, riding them as if they were on the carousel, and it was really funny.
Yeah, I'm like, where did those brooms even come from?
Right?
Also, not random question, it's relevant. But during all this time, Jedi and Queen Beryl are so focused on the Sailor Senshi this whole time. But they never mention Tuxedo Mask. And he has been there almost every time.
They're not like, oh, we have 3 bad guys to fight and also Tuxedo.
Right. They never even mention him.
Never noticed that. Maybe he has some sort of, like, amnesia field. They can't perceive him. That's why he just like shows up and leaves. It's like they
maybe because he leaves so quickly. It's like when they say like in old 90s movies where they're like, okay, you've got 1 minute before like on the phone before the bad guy figures out your location. Yeah, it's like that. So
maybe
he
they're
gets
just like,
out.
where do these roses keep coming from? Huh? Must be a weird power.
Is a rose? He's wearing a mask, so we can't see anything. He's just invisible.
I just heard like a kind of a uplifting quote, and then
I heard like a tango, like a tango sting, and then that was it. There's nobody.
And then suddenly the Sailor Scouts started fighting better. It was weird. So Mars does her flame attack, and I wrote down Mars has more than been carrying her weight, because she's done a lot of stuff this episode.
She carried this whole episode.
I would like to say that I actually really like the character. A lot of these shows, and I think of this show in my memory as being very formulaic, and a lot of these shows have a really kind of like formula for who does what and when they do it. And I really like that there's actual characterization in what attacks the people have and when they use them. Like, both times we've seen Mars, she doesn't wait for anybody else. She just, like, starts, like, taking out the bad guys all by herself. Yeah. And letting Mars be the one to go after a bad guy while the main leader, Serena's, like, hanging back and figuring stuff out and, you know, having her own issues is novel, and I really like it because it like, really fits with her character. That Mars is just like,
and
I'm gonna set it on fire.
Exactly. And it also showed, because that's both her strength and her weakness, and that she just action. Yeah. And so it also allows for, you know, more different kinds of fight scenes and stuff. And so, like, when she's going in too hard, which is, like, allowing, I guess, Sailor Moon to get over her emotions, like, oftentimes it's going to get Sailor Mars into trouble, and then Sailor Moon has to act, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's just nice. And I think it looks like I skipped because I forgot, is that after the brooms, there's a weird cut, and they find Ami as she's waking up, and there's some weird dialogue, because all of Ami's dialogue is super weird. Yeah. And then the bad guy shows up, and somebody, I assume Luna, says, "You'd better fight together this time," which I guess is the theme of the episode, because then Ami does her transformation and, like, fills the room up with mist. Mars does her paper thing, and then Serena does her tiara attack to pin the bad guy down, and Mars does her flame to take the bad guy out, which, again, like, Mars did a bunch of stuff there, but also, like, they're cooperating, they did a team attack, it was really cool, I was into it. Like, I'm shocked that they didn't feel like the need to have, like, Serena be the one to take things out with her classic tiara last minute, like.
Yeah, that was true. Cool. I didn't even notice that.
So then the bad guy turns to dust, and Serena goes, "Moon dusted," which I think may be the first time she said that. And yeah. I think it's supposed to be a pun, but it's a good thing this bad guy was a doll, or that would have been murder.
Right. Well, they've all been murder.
Well, you're right, but we've been banishing them back to the Negaverse.
Yeah, but it's a sentient doll, so, I mean, it is a sentient life form, and therefore it's murder.
Another weird line delivery is we cut to Jadeite, who says something like, "What? I hate those Sailor Scouts." And it was just great. And he's like, "Now I have to face Queen Beryl." And I was like, yeah, this isn't going to go well for you, bud.
No, it's not.
I've looked at the episode titles.
Yeah, his days are numbered.
Very, very numbered.
Can probably count on one hand. In fact, it might be the next episode.
Yeah.
So what was the line that Ami said that you were going to try to reenact?
Oh, the one, it was the one where she's like, they're like, the dream dolly's like, "Does anyone want cookies as much as you can eat?" And Ami is like, "Sure, why do you ask?" And it was really weird.
Oh, I can't with her. I don't understand any of the choices.
It's really weird. Like, already they write her lines, they translate her lines weirder and stupider, poorly. But like that voice, not doing her any favors.
No, and I don't understand, because they gave Luna a bizarre, like, it's like, I want to say Mrs. Doubtfire level, but it's not, like, of comical British. I mean, Mrs. Doubtfire is Scottish, obviously.
But she's kind of the mentor character, so it can work with her being older.
But then they also do it with Ami. I'm like, no, we can't. You've already got a Brooklyn accent. Like,
and they took away Ami's whole thing about being like, "I want to be more than just that." And they just were like, "No, she just loves studying. That's her." And you're like,
okay. Study, work, productivity, produce, tax, die.
She said something mean about the other two. They said something mean about her, but she did say something mean in this episode, like, which, again, very out of character for Ami.
Yeah, that's super out of character.
Everyone was mean to everybody. Yeah, so then we just cut to, they're all getting ice cream together. Mars and Serena are arguing again. Serena's like, "Stop licking your ice cream so noisily." And Mars is like, "Nah, meatball head." And then they fight. I don't know. That was the
and then she, like, trips and it ends or something.
Yeah. And we get a Sailor Moon Says, but we're going to wait on that.
Yeah. So is it time for me to guess?
I think first, let's maybe, how do you feel about this episode?
It's hard because I don't remember a lot of it from last week. I remember really enjoying it, though.
Okay, good. Because I was just like, wow, this is the first time I've just not at all enjoyed an episode. Like, the first time I was just like, wow. But it was so mean.
It had, I remember it being kind of mean. And, like, because I don't like the head-butting cattiness with them. And, like, I really hope that that's not going to be
It's such a 90s
constant
trope as girls fighting as part of their friendship.
Yeah, like, that's not friendship.
And fighting over boys in particular is part of their friendship.
Yeah, and I really, like, I hate that trope. I hate the, like, weird love triangle, love angle thing.
But some of the details you pointed out to me were definitely more charming. And I like that thing of them just trying to figure out their way, and, like, the running joke of Serena being, like, a little too nice to the bad guy, and Mars being a little too go get him. Like, that could really work. And so there definitely was a heart in there somewhere that is a lot more tolerable.
That the Americans just
them taking all of Serena's positive traits in this away and just being like, I'm obsessed with food and I don't care about my friends, is an utterly baffling choice.
Yep.
And I honestly don't even think it's done with maliciousness. I just think they think, like, kids need something funny and easy to understand, and they just go for the, because that's part of why they always have Luna be so mean to Serena, is that usually when they add a Luna being mean to Serena line, it's supposed to be a joke, and it's just easy to make Serena the butt of the joke, so that's, like, lazy humor. And the same thing here, like, why did they change Serena being worried about Amy to Serena wanting cookies?
Like,
lazy
what's the reason
joke. It's a
behind
lazy joke, because they don't trust children to care about Amy, but they trust children to laugh about cookies or something.
I also think it's totally possible that some of the Deke notes, like, on the episode to, like, change, because I think that they knew what they were doing with these changes. I think that they thought they were really doing something here. And I'll bet that, like, if that was the case, it's totally possible that they didn't want to scare kids, because that's the other thing, is, like, they don't...
Oh, yeah, make it less scary. So we don't...
Yeah. So we don't want Ami to feel more in danger, so we'll just change this line.
Add more jokes. Add more ha, Serena, you idiot jokes, because that lightens everything up. But man, they really go for the Serena is the butt of the joke over and over, and it's
really bullying.
Yeah. And it just makes it less fun to watch if Serena isn't as nice to her friends, and, like,
it sucks all the fun out of it.
So... would you like to guess the Sailor Moon says that wrapped up, because again, this is where they come up with a moral that they, you know, Sailor Moon says always listen to your friends or whatever.
Okay, I'm torn between two things, which is, one is Sailor says don't go to an amusement park by yourself, always make sure you have an adult with you.
I love that.
Or it's Sailor says, it was something of, I was thinking something about, like, don't let your love of amusement park rides and delicious treats to get in the way of real friends. Like, you need to focus. I don't know. Something like that.
That would have been my guess for, like, the theme of the episode is something about, like, you know, sometimes you gotta focus a little more on your work, even when there's fun things or something. Okay.
Oh, I'm
so
excited.
This time, I'm gonna say that they just gave up, because this Sailor Moon says has basically Mars and Serena have an argument over who defeated the bad guy. Serena's like, I defeated the bad guy with my stuff. Tiara, Mars is like, I defeated the bad guy with my flame. They're arguing over it. And then Mercury is like, guys, neither of you defeated her. And they both stopped, shocked. And then she's like, we all did. And they cut to a quick shot of them all defeating her. And then there's a pause as everyone just kind of, there's just a pause. And then Luna goes, now if only you could keep up your teamwork all the time. And then they leave. So I think the theme was work together, or we all work together, but they didn't even bother to even make that the moral. They just were mean. Like, I think the lesson was we all work together, but the moral was also that they did not learn that lesson.
Right. Oh my god. I think this is just incompetence.
They utterly gave up. They didn't even do a Sailor Moon says. They were just like, you guys teamwork, but you still hate each other, so I guess you aren't good at teamwork.
I mean, I will say that, like, I do think the episode was supposed to kind of be about teamwork, but episode was mean.
This episode was mean. That's my last note.
Yeah. It definitely had kind of a meme catty vibe in the sub, but again, not as just like bitchy.
They didn't end with the thing about how they're fighting over who actually did the work at the end of the episode. They didn't regress them that far.
Ridiculous. Yeah. No, like I didn't enjoy like the bickering and stuff. I find it kind of annoying. I understand that they need to go through it because they're just gonna naturally clash anyway, and eventually they'll become closer. But
well, it's less annoying if they let them also be likable at the same time. Like Serena had her cool moments in here, and they had their cool friendship moments where they cared about each other. When Serena cares about Ami, that's charming. When Ray cares about Serena, that's charming. And they took away most of those, so...
Yeah. Dicks.
I will say, I also noted down that this was the first episode that has not had either Molly or Melvin.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah. I actually stole that. It's a trivia fact off the episode description. Because I was trying to figure out... I could have
sworn that there was another episode that they weren't in. But I don't remember.
Now that we have Ray, Molly is officially not really a friend anymore, and we don't need her.
Yeah.
In the tradition of...
We don't want to pay to animate additional character frames.
Yep.
Or additional voice actors.
Poor her slipping into irrelevance, school friends.
Yeah. And then we never see them again. I mean, I think we probably do, but definitely not as often.
I want to see the Crystal Tokyo where, like, Molly, like, becomes, like, the advisor to the throne or something, and she gets
does she really?
No, she doesn't, but that's what I want. It was like that she doesn't just
like,
vanish in Millennium Tokyo or whatever.
Can you imagine, like, that horrible Brooklyn accent as, like... So, Sailor Pluto says...
In a flowing white dress.
Yeah.
Yes,
here's the report from the Time Guardian.
Oh, I'm into that. Yes. And then Melvin's there.
Oh, God. And
he's... like a suit. Formal wear. He's
do you
like,
think
got
with
like
the glasses?
Armor on and the glasses.
And the glasses, yeah.
I'm into it.
I mean, let's ship it. Let's
Molly
fanfiction
and Melvin are canonically a couple.
Eventually. That would make sense. Yeah.
Gotta put the extras together.
So we are pretty much at an hour. So the final segment, unless I'm forgetting another one, but the final segment is an activity. And really, it's just going to be the form of a question. I don't have a quiz or anything.
Yeah, that's fine. It can be a hypothetical or something.
I would love... Okay, you can back out of this if you want, and we can just do it more as just like a hypothetical question, or we can role play Jedi interviewing for a job because I want to know. So I am the theme park hiring manager.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yes.
And then I'm going to try to figure out how Jedi got this job.
Yes.
I like it. Because you're right. He doesn't normally generate these places out of nothing. Like, they seem to be existing places that he just kind of inserts himself into.
Yeah,
all
and
right,
then he just,
I'm willing to try this. And I don't remember my Jedi voice, but I'm just going to go for, hi, I'm here to be Jedi. And I'm sexy, and I'm evil. These are my only two skills. So I do have a lot of plans.
What role do we think he got? Like, do we think he's, like, the park manager or, like, the PR guy?
He kind of looked like a janitor, and I feel like he's a janitor at a lot of his jobs. Hi, I'm here to sweep the floors.
That's probably how he gets in, honestly.
You know what? He's like, they're like, what are your skills? He's like, I'm really good at pushing large crowds of press people out the door. And in case 50 people happen to go missing at your park, I will be able to handle this publicity for you.
So I don't think that it happens until he's employed.
Well, of course not. He's just like, in case.
Yeah. So, okay.
You're the interviewer. You can welcome me to the interview. That's how interviews work, right? I haven't been in an interview in a while.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for joining us. I've got your resume in front of me here. Jadeite? Is that your name? Oh, okay. So sorry for pronouncing that.
Jade is my first name and Ite is my last name.
Oh, but you've combined it all into just like one word. Is that like a Japanese tradition in your name?
It's from my culture. I'm from I think the moon, Nega moon.
Oh,
Culture.
okay. I think I've heard that they have really good Mai Tais there. I don't know. I'll go check it out.
They do, actually. They will drain the energy right out of you. Ooh,
oh man.
I just had a great plan for improving. I'm really good at, gathering it in energy and
tell me more. Tell me more about that. Actually, can you tell me about a time where you were under pressure to perform and you had a success?
Oh, yes. Well, I'd like to think of myself that I'm really good at finding talent and getting the right talent in the right job. And so when I need to solve a problem, I typically look around at the hordes of faceless but very specialized women around me, and I point at one at random and I say, "What is your special talent?" And she says, "I am really good at vegetables." And I go, "Oh, a vegetable theme. Vegetables would be a good way to gather in the energy of countless lost souls for work purposes." And we run with it.
Mm-hmm. So I do want to be clear, this is not a managerial role, but you won't have any underlings with you.
No underlings.
You will be.
Could I build an underling, like a robot underling?
I mean, that sounds intriguing. We have been wanting to get into the tech space lately.
How do you feel about evil puppets?
That might fit in our Snow White theme section. I do want to caution you, though. We do have to adhere to equal opportunity laws. So cannot
you're saying I should employ some animals as well?
Potentially, yes. Also males. I can't have you just specifically only looking for women to hire in this role.
Could I brainwash a bunch of gym bros to work for me? I have done that once.
Brainwashing, you say. So tell me more about brainwashing. Is this like a specific managerial technique?
Yes, it's a corporate technique where you bring out the best in your subservient employees. And
is that like those trust falls and stuff? Like, is this an offsite?
It's sort of like a chant you do in the mornings to get your brain in the right place.
Okay, mantra, very new age, very now. I mean,
we all stare into a crystal, and sometimes I put crystals on your forehead, and we chant about the good of our High Queen Beryl and our mysterious god that we're trying to revive, but I can't remember the name of, and it's very very corporate. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this sounds very expensive, though. Is this kind
it's
of
totally
team
free.
building?
Everything is done with
with
home. I don't really know where I get my resources, but they do just seem to happen. Sometimes I generate black holes and kind of just pull things out of them.
All of this is sounding very cutting edge and like something that our stakeholders will be very excited by. So I'm definitely very excited to hear more. So, Jadeite.
How do you feel about overcrowding in the park? Because I really think I have an idea for reducing this problem for you.
Oh, I mean,
we definitely really take care of those crowds.
Tell me more about what your plans.
I'm sort of envisioning like a tower with a circular stairway and a bunch of unconscious bodies on it while I lurk in the front, cackling maniacally.
So you're thinking like one of those Japanese like nap hotel places, like with the cells for each person?
Yes, basically. I think that a lot of people just have a lot of energy to give, and they napping away while they energy just generates would be a great activity for park goers.
Yes. I agree. And also, like, there's always a point in the trip during an amusement park where you get kind of tired and you just need a place to go and relax.
And a circular stairway on an evil tower is...
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm liking the way you think, Jedi. So I've got one last question for you, and I would love to hear... What would you say are your top strengths? as a candidate?
I can disguise myself as a custodian or a radio operator or a custodian again. I am able to generate black voids that access some sort of space that might be on the moon. I can actually also generate several school buses if you would like to, bus the sleeping people out of the... I did lose my bus driver recently, though. Never mind. That won't work.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yes, she turned to dust. It was very sad. She had a great outfit, too, man. I do a really good sexy voice, so I have been recently accessing that. So I think that's really my biggest strength, is I just lean on the sexy voice.
That's going to be really critical, I think, for this role, because you will be interfacing with the public, with
who are mostly
journalists.
Yes. Oh, journalists.
Children,
okay.
But also journalists, having a sexy voice and an approachable personality, like being good looking, basically is what I mean by that, is really helpful for, dealing with any kinds of police or journalists, what have you. And
normally
also
I just pick them all up and push them out doorways.
You're a man after my own heart. I love to hear it.
Evil.
Well, you know what, Jedi? You're hired.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why are your hands not constantly circling a crystal ball? This is really making me uncomfortable. Could I bring you a crystal ball? Would that help?
I mean, I would love a crystal ball. I'm not sure how to answer that question. I mean, I'm new to this new age stuff, so I'm here to learn from you.
I just feel safer when my superiors have a crystal ball that they cannot physically step away from.
Okay. If you would bring me one and show me how to work it, we can work something out. It
works a lot like a tape player. You just put a little cassette tape in there. Go.
What's a tape player? What are tapes?
What year is it? Oh, no.
I'm a Gen Z. What's a floppy disk?
We are in the 90s, excuse me.
Oh, it sounds like you were born in the 1900s.
No, I was born in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away,
far
or whatever
away.
The title scroll says.
All right, so, and I mean, what are your salary requirements?
Oh, I don't need a salary.
You're
I like
hired.
to be paid in the... Oh, good, yes.
We'll call this an internship. By any chance, do you need school credit?
Can I get, Megaverse credit? Because my
I'm not sure if we take Negaverse credit.
No, can I have it? That's my boss lady is really getting on my ass recently.
Well, let me give you some forms to fill out, and if you could just fill it out with all of your Negabank information, then we'll just get the ball rolling.
I'll see if I can find a monster lady who knows about banks.
I really do have a concern, though. I guess it's less a concern and more just like a watch out, for discriminating against male monsters. So I just want to throw that out there.
But I don't... Here's a question. Maybe there just aren't any male monsters. Have you considered that?
So are they even female then? Are they genderless with boobs?
Question. I mean, why are boobs gendered?
That's true. Well,
I
don't know.
This is a good... And you know what? I'm rethinking everything. I think everyone's just a monster. I will stop calling them female monsters. We'll just go with monsters from now on.
Yeah. Maybe they don't like monsters. What did they prefer to be called?
Well, one of them was a vampire, I think. Another one was a bus driver. Someone else had sort of like a computer / furry chest theme.
Oh, God. I will never forget about the furry chest.
That was
All
great.
right, well, so Jedi, you got the job. Great success. And I think we gotta end this.
This bit was fun. I don't really know what I discovered about myself except this.
I think we've both discovered that we know a lot of corporate buzzwords. It's just something that you absorb in your 30s.
I'm gonna miss Jadeite when he's gone from Niggacore. That's what I discovered.
You know what, though? He can really live on in our headcanon.
That's true. We can write fanfic.
Yeah,
really
he's got the job.
To him.
You know, he's got the job.
What is the next episode? Hang on.
Ooh.
Because we always talk about what the next episode title is. And I didn't actually see it come up. So I'm on episode 8. You're on episode 11. Okay, so next week is Cruise Blues. Or, oh boy, I Want a Boyfriend. The luxury cruise ship is a trap.
Oh.
I am real excited about that title.
They just let teenagers onto cruise ships?
Well, it's a trap.
Oh. It's a trap. That explains it.
Turns out they don't just let teenagers on. Teenagers at home, if someone tries to let you on a cruise ship, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
Oh
Never
my gosh.
go.
I want to know. I want a boyfriend. Oh, I'm excited. And I would like to say that the episode after that, no spoilers, but I think that's our Jadeite. We're going to lose him. So
Hashtag no spoilers. It's where Jedi definitely doesn't die. So.
No, he's going to become good.
He's going to find great success.
He's going to retire to go be a janitor because that is really sweeping floors.
That's
his job.
like once or twice is a coincidence, but with as many times as he's disguised himself as custodial services, I think it's just his calling.
You know, if I had like a high stress job where she was constantly like threatening to murder me, if I didn't drain the life force out of just more and more people constantly. It doesn't matter how many life force drains you do, she's just still mad. She's never satisfied.
Moving the goalposts.
I would also like a nice custodial job. Like
you just want something simple.
It's very straightforward. You clean the floor, it's clean. No one can say clean the floor more.
It was dirty before, now it's clean.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll look forward to Jadeite's future as a custodial professional.
Yes, and so I will
peaceful
be
retirement.
Just sipping Mai Tais on the beach of the moon.
Where did the Mai Tais come from?
I don't know.
Evil Mai Tais from the Nigga Moon.
I was trying to say mojito, and then it like didn't come out, and so it just turned into Mai Tai. Like that was the word that I.
That's fair.
So next week I'll be watching the dub.
I will be watching the sub. And hopefully this episode will be less mean.
Fingers crossed, man, but I am not holding out hope for the dub.
I think that the fact that it's not called Usagi versus Rei is very promising.
Fingers crossed. We'll see. All right. Well, did we have another outro?
Did we have an outro? Oh, I think something like, I will see you next week for some more Sailor Moon therapy. Take care of your mental health, everyone.
And remember, we are not therapists, and therefore we are not liable. This is not medical recommendations.
We don't have to do this because we've gone long, but I do think we're supposed to pick our own Sailor Moon says. So I would like to say, let's see. Sailor Moon says, stop yelling at all your friends all the time. That's not a good one, but...
Yeah, you know what, though? I think that's a very reasonable moral.
Sailor Moon says, friends are more important than cookies.
Yes, and Sailor Moon says, stop being such a bitch all the time.
Oh, no. So,
yeah. Also, don't bully your friends, because that's literally bullying.
When do I get my child tuxedo mask? I don't know why I'm obsessed with that.
You know what? I think it's going to happen. I think we can manifest this in the past.
I can visualize it so clearly that I'm like, where am I getting this memory from? Like,
well, it's from, I remember all the chibi fan art, like where they would chibi draw them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's probably from that.
Yeah.
Because I see it very clearly
it's
also.
Going to turn it into a kid. I just know it. I just know it. He is going to turn evil. It's like turning
Does
into
he
a kid.
really?
Yeah, he gets
I didn't know that.
brainwashed. I'm
I
really
don't
looking
remember that at
forward to
all.
it. Yeah, he gets brainwashed by the Negaverse at some point. It's very sad and
Ooh.
tragic.
That feels
It
very
gives you-
Buffy Angel.
And it gives you so, like, the feels. Your one true love has turned against you because he's been, it's all the feels.
Aw.